Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video I'm going to be giving some general updates on the dealership world, what I am seeing that is working well and what I'm seeing that's not working so well. And if you guys like this type of video, then just let me know in the comment section below. And well, speaking of all of that, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. And then if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's dive right into it. So I recently discussed the national statistics for what is happening within the dealership world in a previous video, but spoiler alert, I'm going to quickly talk about the general trends to set up today's video. So first off, with the used car market, used car sales are kind of flat at this point. Like, they're not where they should be considering the time of year that it is, and so there's just less interest in the used car market, and this is showing in the wholesale values. Right now, retail values are just kind of flat right now, but wholesale values are actually on the decline, which means that used cars are becoming, less and less popular with buyers. And a big part of why they're becoming less popular is, well, the prices are at not at the peak of what they were, but they're still at historic highs. And then on top of that, availability of used cars is really low. Like, the day supply number of used cars is around 40 days right now, which is just not where it needs to be on the retail side of things. It needs to be close to 60 days with the supply for there to be enough cars for people to actually have options. And so used cars are not as appealing in today's market. Now, when it comes to new cars, they're actually becoming more and more appealing as time goes on because prices are coming down at the same time that volume's going up. So this shows that there's, even though you'd think that more demand would increase the prices, what we're actually seeing is there's higher production paired with higher demand, and the production is slightly outpacing the demand, which means the prices have to come down. So overall volume of sales is increasing with new cars. And so this is showing just a strengthening of the new car market. Now, a big part of this sales increase comes from fleet sales, but there is still retail sales volume increases within the new car market. Hopefully that sentence made sense. But again, general trends: used car market, bad news; new car market, good news. So now that we've gone over the national statistics, let's kind of talk about what's happening within the dealer world. So first off, there's still a really big split between different dealers depending on the brand that they represent. There are some brands that still don't have nearly enough inventory, and so they're in a, I would say, bad situation in the form of, because they don't have enough inventory, they are selling fewer cars than they would like to sell, because if they got more inventory, they'd be able to sell those cars. And so they're losing customers at this point to other brands, because since these dealers are sold out, they have no incentive to discount their inventory, whereas their competitors that represent another brand could be more than willing to discount their inventory because they have too much inventory. And so it's creating some interesting dynamics in the car business. But I'd say that, yeah, the dealers that don't have a lot of inventory, because again, their manufacturer's still struggling to produce enough cars to meet demand, they're not in the worst situation ever, but it's not an ideal situation, because at this point in our current market conditions, it's really hard for a dealer to get over MSRP on a car unless it's something that's really special. Buyers just aren't willing to pay those price premiums anymore. And so these buyers are basically, paying MSRP on cars, which is still a decent amount of profit for a dealership if they're selling in higher volume amounts. And that's the big issue here, is a lot of these dealers just aren't selling in high volume amounts because the manufacturer isn't producing those cars in high enough volume amounts. Hopefully that makes sense. And so you have that side of things. And then you obviously have the dealers that have tons of new car inventory, and they're starting to discount that inventory pretty heavily. Some of the discounts that I've seen online, and when I go to places, it's pretty substantial, and it's actually driving quite a bit of traffic. A lot of dealers are starting to sell more volume with new cars because of these discounts, and it's just basically going back to what things were like prior to the pandemic, where it's yep, you discount the vehicle a ton and you probably don't make money on the vehicle, but you hope that the person finances and maybe buys some warranties, and then maybe also buys some accessories with the purchase as well. And so basically just trying to finagle the whole situation to get money out of somewhere with the car deal. And again, in this current market, it seems like that's a slightly more ideal situation, because what these dealers are able to do is just, they're able to take more swings, basically, because they're able to put together more car deals because they have more inventory to sell. Yes, they got to discount that inventory, but more inventory, more swings, and then there are more profits to be made. And then when it comes to the used car world, there's also, frankly, a really big split that I am seeing develop. So there are some dealers that are just kind of done with used cars. Like, they don't want anything to have to do with used cars. If they get used cars traded in for their new car inventory, they're like, cool, yeah, we'll figure this out. Some of them are even like liquidating their used car inventories where they're just getting rid of them because, well, if you remember last year, a lot of dealers lost a lot of money because used car values went down, and with used car values trending downwards again, a lot of dealers are getting scared. And so you have the dealers that have very thin used car inventory, and then you have other dealers which are still buying used cars like crazy, and so their inventories are really big. And this is where I see a pretty interesting dynamic happening within the market, because it's kind of like this positive feedback loop where these dealers see that used car values are starting to trend downward and used car sales are starting to trend downward, so they stop buying as many used cars, so then they start selling even fewer used cars. And then you have these other dealers which are continuing to buy used cars, and they are basically seeing that their sales are flat. And so I know that this might seem like a negative thing, but that's not actually necessarily negative, because if you're still making sales, you're still making sales, which is in turn making money. And so it's just this interesting dynamic where you have some dealers that are actually making tons of money off of these used car sales, and they're selling tons of used cars, and they're able to take advantage of the fact that a lot of their competitors are kind of scared of the used car market, and so they're basically taking customers that their competitors might have normally had if they had a larger used car inventory. And so it's interesting to see the difference with these different dealers based on how many used cars they are willing to have on their lot. And at least as of right now, it seems like more is actually better when it comes to used cars. So pulling everything together with today's video, first off, on the used car side of things, there are dealers that are now terrified of used cars because values are starting to go down again, and there are dealers that are still buying used cars like crazy. And as of right now, it looks like the dealers that are buying used cars like crazy are benefiting greatly. And I think that the only reason that this is sustainable currently is because you have enough dealers that are pulling back from used cars that it gives these dealers the ability to basically broaden their market, right? Because if all of the dealers were bulking up with their used car inventory, then you'd probably see a situation where, well, since sales are flat and since values are declining, a lot of dealers are going to lose money. But when you have a situation where you have a lot of dealers that are liquidating their used car inventory and that they're just trying to not have a lot of used cars because they don't want to lose a ton of money like they lost last year, then it puts other dealers in a situation where it's like, oh, well, we have a bunch of used cars, and then all these other dealerships around us have like no used cars at this point. And so if someone's going to buy a used car in this market, then they're going to come buy from us because we're the only ones that actually have inventory. What you have to remember with used cars is that inventory is everything. The more used car inventory a dealership has, the better. I know that that sounds maybe counterintuitive, but you have to remember people want options with used cars. Most people that go in to buy a used car at a dealership are usually not necessarily like buying a specific car. That's usually more for new car buyers, right? Used car buyers are usually like, okay, well, I want to spend $20,000 because I want my car payment to be, I don't know, $400 or $500 a month. Interest rates are super high, so it's probably that much at this point. I want my car payment to be that much, and I want four-wheel drive, and I want an SUV, right? That's kind of the mindset of a lot of used car buyers that are buying from dealers. And so if dealers have one of those available, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the next dealership to see my option. But if a dealer has 10 of those available, right, for example, that's way more options. So that's way more chances that that customer will buy from that particular dealership. So that's just an example. So again, it'll be interesting to see how this market trend evolves, but that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. Now, when it comes to the new car side of things, well, again, this is where dealers have a lot less control because they can't control how many new cars are produced by their respective manufacturers, but obviously they can control pricing. And here's, again, what I'm seeing. Dealers that are not charging crazy market adjustments on cars and are not adding crazy, add-on packages to cars, those are the dealers that are doing the best right now because people are really price conscious right now. And so if your vehicle is more expensive than one of your competitors, like with how high interest rates are right now and with everything that's going on in the economy, people are more than willing to travel. Like I've been kind of, again, this is more of an anecdote, but I've been talking to, a bunch of people all over that have purchased cars recently. And what I've been hearing when people, and also like when people message me through the car buying guide or through my Instagram and all that kind of stuff, what people have been saying is that, they had to travel to get the deal that they were looking for. And I want to emphasize this, that I haven't gotten this much communication on people like looking for deals for probably like 2 years. And so we went from a market where people are just like, I just need to find this car, and if I find this car, I'll buy it. Whereas now it's like, oh, well, there's a bunch of dealers with this car, so I want to find the deal. People are now, again, deal searching. And so the dealers that are willing to give customers the deals and are being transparent about the pricing, those are the dealers that are selling the most amount of new cars. And the dealers that aren't doing that, they're the ones that have their inventories continue to build up day after day, month after month. And unless they change things, well, we'll just have to see what happens. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about these dealership trends, and let me know what you think dealerships should do with the current market conditions. Do you think that it's smart that dealerships are continuing to purchase more and more used cars, or do you think it's smart that some dealers are choosing to get rid of their used car inventory? And then when it comes to the new car side of things, again, you just have to be practical, be realistic. Do you think that, you know, a dealership that has really like constrained supply of cars, do you think they should still be willing to discount their cars to make it so their customers are getting the same deal that they'd get with another brand? Or do you think that they should just keep kind of going with the status quo of, hey, we don't have any cars, and so this is the price? Interested to hear on that. I'll see you.